people to chat and discuss the news, discuss what's going on, plan ahead and all that. And so thank you to everybody who helps us to do that. And for all the rest of you, thank you for being here, watching the show. As I said, Brett will be here tomorrow. We're gonna do our Garbage People of the Week, our Hero of the Week as well. Go over to the post tab on YouTube to vote. For now, though, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.
Everyone, and welcome to Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Doc has the day off, he's earned that. And one more reason that I love Dr. Ritchie is that when he's away, he sometimes lets us play. Look who's here. I think these feminine, powerful shows are good. It's good to bounce off of each other and just see where it takes us, yes?
I enjoy it, and I feel like they do take us in interesting directions sometimes, and hopefully that's entertaining or insightful for people. Otherwise, I'm having a good time, and I think you are too.
Yeah, I'll take care of the entertainment and you be the insightful part, and we'll just balance each other up. What do you say we get after it? Because there's some heavy ones today.
There's a lot,
we don't, we don't make this stuff up, folks, but we present what's out there and then we weigh in. So we'll begin with an update for you. It is newly released video of a New York official shooting a DoorDasher. Here's the update. That video just released finally.
Go! Go!
Absolutely horrifying, that is. According to Atlanta Black Star, the leaked Ring doorbell video, first obtained by News 12 Westchester, shows Town of Chester Highway Superintendent John Riley exiting his home, firing a warning shot, then aiming his weapon and firing 2 more shots at the DoorDash driver's car, yelling at him to, quote, go. New York State Police say the DoorDash driver simply got lost trying to locate a home in Riley's neighborhood where he was supposed to make a delivery. After encountering technical issues with the app's GPS navigation, he stopped at several residents' homes asking for directions. Somehow this is something that we've seen play out before. Simple mistake and shots fired. When he got to Riley's home, Riley ordered him to get off his property before firing multiple shots at the victim as he attempted to leave in his vehicle, striking the victim once in the back, causing serious physical injuries, state police wrote in a release. The family told local news outlets that the 24-year-old victim's phone lost power, so he drove himself to a gas station to charge the device to 1% and call police. Store clerk had called authorities, but the victim drove himself home where first responders met him to rush him to a local hospital, grabbing his firearm, and he just started shooting at him, and he thought his life was over. Relative of the victim telling WABC the family said that the victim is still hospitalized and has to undergo a second surgery. Let's get back to Mr. Riley. He's 48, charged with a number of felonies for the May 2nd shooting, including first-degree assault, criminal possession of a firearm, second-degree criminal possession of a weapon. Riley was jailed on a $250,000 cash bail, $500,000 bond, $750,000 partially secured bond. Local news outlets say he's bonded out of jail. Orange County District Attorney telling News 12 that his next court appearance was canceled after 2 town judges recused themselves from this case. Now that's going to tell us something there. Everybody knows everybody. It's that kind of place, perhaps. Chester Town Supervisor Brandon Holdridge told WABC, the video is definitely disturbing to watch. Can't imagine what was going through minds in that scenario. It's really just shock and disbelief, Holdridge said. His office has faced a barrage of phone calls since the shooting from community members calling for Riley's removal from his position. The victim's family is also calling for Riley to be fired. Holdridge released an official statement shortly after the shooting saying that the town board has no control over Riley's position as highway superintendent since he was elected to the role. He's an elected official, so that means we have no power over him to resign, Holdridge told News 12 Westchester. Orange County grand jury has not yet officially indicted him in his case either. No new court date has been set for Riley. State police are still investigating the shooting because Riley is a federally licensed arms dealer. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms is also looking into the case. The Orange County District Attorney's Office said his firearms have been seized under an extreme risk protection order. Well, from that footage, that very disturbing footage, finally released, again, that's telling. I don't know why he'd be released on any bond while this is sorted out. And I don't know why, as the system that has no power over him, did they ask for his resignation? That's what I would be curious. Okay, you have no power, but did you ask? Did you pressure him? Mm-hmm. And then there are the courts and those judges who recuse themselves. Seems to me that there is a mechanism within the law that an outside prosecutor needs to be brought in. But sometimes people who all know each other in a small community, people in power, that is, don't necessarily want to pull the trigger on that. Your thoughts on what we've seen now?
Pull the trigger. Interesting choice of words there, Sharon. You know, it is sad because there is so much. I don't want to say it's corruption, but there's definitely something that's entrenched within these smaller communities or within these districts, you know, just very small, intimate communities. And nobody wants to be the one to shake things up or to go against somebody. And at the end of the day, it's actually harming our communities. It's harming the people who live in these communities, the same people that people like the shooter are in charge of, right? He was elected to represent certain people. And, you know, incidents like this one, look, first of all, speaking on a societal level, right? We can't have it both ways. We can't, as a society, insist on never leaving our homes, on never having to interact with people, on having everything delivered straight to our front doors because we can't handle any kind of inconvenience in our lives anymore, while getting mad about delivery drivers just driving around neighborhoods and even, you know, approaching our front doors. But when I first read this story, I was first inclined to think that people are just like going crazy and we're all unhinged or whatever. But we've covered enough stories like this one that I'm not sure that we can treat them as isolated incidents anymore. And look, like I live in Texas. I'm not here to say that we need to get rid of guns. I don't think that that's feasible, but guns seem to be just a part of this problem. We've created a perfect storm where everyone is armed, everyone is isolated from their neighbors and communities, and everyone is paranoid that someone ringing their doorbell is like at best trying to talk to them about Jesus or at worst trying to scam or hurt them and their families. And I don't know how to fix this, right? This is a deep societal issue that won't go away overnight. And just one aspect of that is what you were saying, that nobody at the top, nobody who's in charge, nobody who has the power and authority to actually do something is willing to do something for whatever reason. And this stuff isn't going to go away with like a piece of legislation or anything like that. And while I like to see when people get punished in cases like this, the victim is always lucky if they get away with their life whenever there are guns involved, right? If this victim had not gotten away with his life, it would have been a much, much sadder story that we're covering today. But either way, punishing a crime means that a crime has already happened. It's still reactionary, right? We're still just reacting to something that's already happened. And whenever guns are involved in the crime, it oftentimes can mean that someone has already died. And that's frankly, it's unacceptable, right? For that person's family, for that person, right? So whatever is happening with society, it's not going to be an easy thing to undo or to fix, but we need to get away from wherever we have gotten in this world. And it's going to be an adjustment. You know, we've isolated ourselves so much that we need to somehow figure out a way to undo that isolation.
Yeah, I think you raise several interesting points, and I'll start with the last one, isolation. Because there is this thing where it's my world and I'm going to police everyone in it, right? I don't believe for a second that Mr. Riley was afraid, can't be in his mind, but it's just my belief. And I don't believe for a second that anybody who knows this man who acted in such an unreasonable way would tell you that this is strange behavior to them. I think this is kind of who he is. And I think the word reasonable is key. Because we're living in a society where you can make a foolish argument to justify just about anything. And other reasonable people will go along with it. What could possibly be? Mr. Riley went outside chasing someone. I didn't see anywhere in the state police report where this DoorDash guy came and tried to access a window or, kick the door down. I didn't see any of that. He got lost. And while Mr. Riley perhaps likely didn't know that, what is reasonable is no longer the standard here in our society. And it's scary. And it seems that there are a particular percentage, a large percentage of this group that carries out this kind of thing that don't look like me. They don't look like you. I'm not interjecting race. I'm just saying it's this privileged power need to stand your ground. And I understand there's laws like that, yes, across the country, but I mean literally. Why do you feel so threatened that the first thing you do is grab a loaded one? You told the guy to go, he's running away. That's what if we're to believe the report. And yet, did you bother to allow him to sprint on out of there? No, not until you hit him.
Yeah, and you talk about privilege. Again, not to inject race into it, but like you or I would not even think to like go grab a gun and just start shooting at door dashers, right? Because like, why would that be a thing that we would expect to get away with, right?
Yeah. And even if we were into that, which we're not, we would know.
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah. And it's like what you said before, right? This guy, he must have had something in his history or in his psyche, and like the people who knew him, there's no way that they would have been like surprised by something like this. I don't know, because I don't know him, but it's very hard for me to believe that he wouldn't have like displayed some kind of signs that like, if somebody comes up to my door who is lost, maybe I'll go grab my gun and shoot that person, because that's not a normal thought process that most people would have. But you're absolutely right. What is reasonable, right? Sure, like it is reasonable for someone to want to protect their property or their families or themselves, right? But it's all relative. And we've certainly swung more in one way than in the other. And we're swinging more towards paranoia. We're swinging more towards everyone is out there. Everyone is trying to get me. Everyone's trying to take what I have. And I need to protect all my stuff, all my people, my castle, right? We have castle doctrine here in Texas. I don't know if that's everywhere else. But yeah, if anybody's on your property, you have the right to take action against that person, which, again, it is a reasonable thing to want to do. But we're so inundated, like, especially people who watch Fox News all the time, all they're hearing about is that there are gang members and terrorists everywhere, right?
We're being invaded.
We're being literally invaded by gang members and terrorists. And that's what they're seeing on the news. They're not really seeing it a whole lot in their everyday neighborhoods. I'm gonna bet, because I don't see any of them here around where I am. But it's also, if it's out there, then it could find you, it could come to you. And we live in this constant state of like what could happen or what might happen. And we're reactive towards those things to the point that we, even in our actual lives, like off the internet, our real lives are still so disconnected from reality that we can't even see what's around us.
Yes.
Anymore.
This is why I love you, because we're going to stick with this reality thing here.
Yeah.
If he really felt threatened, and I understand castle doctrine, stand your ground, all of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
How he was putting his own life in jeopardy. He doesn't know who this perhaps perp is running from the property. It doesn't make any sense. Any way you slice it, it's not making any sense, Mr. Riley. And I just think you can't divorce him from his privilege, nor his position in this town. He's in a position of power. Mm-hmm. It's something we'll continue to follow. But again, the video finally released. And what you said too about the victim, money, perhaps a lawsuit, taxpayers will pay, whatever happens here, right? At the end of the day, a simple act of trying to make ends meet, right? Isn't that why you do DoorDash? Mm-hmm. You want to make ends meet, right? Supplement, or maybe that's your whole gig. You don't do it to get shot in the back and have to go through several surgeries. It's just stunning. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, when are you defending yourself and your property and your family? And when are you just like on the offense, right? what's the difference there, right? If somebody is driving past your home and you go outside to see who's there and then you start shooting at them, are you the defendant or are you the one who needs to be defended against, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, I think it's very hard for this person to argue that they were concerned for their lives, because again, if you actually were, like, most people would not just like go outside unnecessarily and see who's out there with a gun and then start shooting, especially when they can see that it's just somebody who's like, there's nothing that's happening there that is worth you shooting at somebody. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We, as you said, have covered a number of these kinds of cases. Thinking of one that is a landmark case where a young man was talking to his girlfriend and just had some Skittles and Snapple, I believe. And someone was in pursuit, stalking, following, claiming that this young man was a danger, killed him and got away with it. And somebody else almost got away with it. In fact, a father and son in parts of rural Georgia, and a neighbor with a bowl cut because someone was jogging in their neighborhood, almost got away with it. Okay, till the footage became visible for the world to see, and a district attorney who has recently got off, who tried to say, nah, nothing to see here. They didn't do anything wrong. Thought it was a burglar. He's a bad guy.
Sharon, I know we have to go on to the next story, but if somebody is getting the police called on them for running outside or for walking on a sidewalk, this is adding to my case that we need bike lanes, we need walking lanes, we need people to get outside, and we need better infrastructure out there, because that should not be an unusual thing that is worthy of somebody getting the cops called on them for. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
No, I agree with you. I want bike lanes, I want jog lanes, I want all this stuff. I just know that in parts of Georgia and probably Texas too, that somehow someone will criminalize riding your bike in the bike lane if you happen to be of a certain hue, okay? We'll move on though, because we can, maybe the theme of the show will be reasonable versus unreasonable. I can tell you which category this next one falls into. A mother buys gear and ammunition for her son's planned mass shooting at his school. You see what we're getting at here? According to San Antonio PD, a mom bought ammunition, tactical gear for her son's planned mass violence at SAISD school. Let's give you the details and put up the shot of her as we take you through them. It's just stunning to me what we learn when the case is just explored just a little bit. All right, well, let's get into some of it. Again, reasonable versus unreasonable, and what comes next, and what are we going to do about it as a society? Show you the picture. She doesn't look too happy, but maybe this is just her normal look. The mother of an SAISD middle school student allegedly bought ammunition, magazines, tactical gear for her son. Son had expressed a desire to carry out acts of mass violence at Jeremiah Rhodes Middle School, that according to the San Antonio Police Department. Her name is Ashley Pardo. She's 33, arrested Monday, charges of aiding in commission of terrorism, court records show. She bought the items with knowledge that they would be used to plan and carry out a crime. On Monday, the student showed up to Rhodes Middle School campus wearing a mask, camouflage jacket, tactical pants, but left shortly after, police said. Investigators and school officials did not know where the student was for a period of time, the affidavit states. School added extra security, police officers. They swept the campus for potential devices. The student was later found off campus, charged with terrorism, according to school officials who sent parents a letter on Monday. Student appeared in juvenile court Tuesday, has another hearing scheduled for later this month, indicating that he most likely remains in custody, according to sources at KSAT. On Sunday, a day before, a family member contacted SAPD about items found in the possession of Pardo's son, including a rifle, pistol, ammunition, black tactical gear, an improvised explosive device made from a mortar-style firework. Family member also stated they found 3 loaded magazines and a note that had several names of mass shooters written on it. Some of the items inscribed with 14 words and SS symbols, references to the white supremacy language in previous mass shootings, detectives said. Pardo had previously been approached about her son's behavior by local law enforcement, child protective services, and school officials, police said. Pardo expressed to the school her support of her son's violent expressions and drawings and does not feel concerned for his behavior, according to the affidavit. In January, the school became aware of drawings made by Pardo's son that featured the school's name written beside a rifle and a map of the campus labeled suicide route, according to authorities. There were timestamps written on the drawing. Pardo's son was suspended in April after it was discovered he was researching the 2019 Christchurch mosque shooting on a school-issued computer. He had described a fascination with past mass shooters, the affidavit states. Pardo was issued a $75,000 bond, which she posted on Tuesday, and was released from Bexar County Jail, records show. So there's so much to unpack with this one. I'm a mother. I don't even think you have to give birth or be a mom or a dad to understand that parts of this story, if true, are certifiably crazy. A mother whose son is expressing fantasies of mass shootings, murder, a fascination with those who came before him and actually carried the axe out and took lives and altered the course of families. Supplying her son with this stuff. And a note going home. All of this is wild, okay? It's wild. But there's something that's a common theme, Yaz, that we hear. Again, if it's true, this is just what's in the affidavit. This obsession, SS, white supremacy, this feeling out, alone. I can tell you that I found it fascinating as I was reading some more materials this morning. It's a trend, and I'm not even saying it's not true. There's this one professor whose name escapes me when it comes to white young men who are feeling put upon, hopeless, left out, depressed. It's a trend that the media, mainstream, is writing about and having guests on The View about. Again, I'm not saying it's not true, but what I am saying is Black and brown boys and men have been in crisis and trauma filled since the beginning. And now this is some kind of trend where you're put upon, and apparently, allegedly, your mom gives you a bunch of stuff and says, attaboy, and it takes a family member to raise the red flag, but he still somehow comes to campus. I don't know where I'm going with this because I'm all over the place. I need you to kind of streamline it, if you will, but this is our new normal here.
Yeah. This is a hard one to wrap my head around, right? I think it is very much what you were talking about. Like I thought about this and I was like, what even could justify any of this? Maybe sometimes you could excuse behavior like this from a child, from a high school kid, right? You can say, oh, their brain isn't fully developed, or they're going through one of the most emotionally stressful times of their lives in a very uncertain time in the world, whatever. But for the mom to, one, not be concerned about her son's behavior, and two, to purchase weapons for him, like that makes no sense at all. But you are right that there is something to be said about this culture where a lot of, white males in particular, and that is the demographic that we typically see as school shooters, not always, but very often, there is this sense of helplessness and hopelessness and victimhood, right? And I don't know this mother, I don't even want to say it's a speculation. I'm just saying this is a thing that could be, not even in this case, but in general. But yeah, you are being a victim right now. Things are harder for white men right now in this country. And for the rest of us, it's very easy for us to be like, just deal with it like the rest of us deal with it. And don't make it everybody else's problems, and don't hurt so many other people while you're dealing with it. But that doesn't help the situation to just tell them to deal with it, right? Because they're not dealing with it. They're not able to deal with it. And the more that other people keep pushing them away and saying, why are you like this? I don't get it. Then, they turn to other idols, right? And in this case, this kid was idolizing other mass shooters, right? Other people who had done big things. And these people, like, it's hard for them. It's hard to it's not hard to understand why they would idolize people like that, because these shooters, what happens after they commit their crime, right? They're on the news, they're being talked about 24/7 for weeks and worth of news cycles, right? They are celebrated by some groups of people. They're in historical records. They go down as somebody who did something, who tried something, who took control of some kind of situation. And it's just like with the other story that we were talking about. Like, what is a reasonable response to any of what's happening in the world right now? So many of us feel helpless and scared and don't know how to proceed with our lives, don't know how to plan our lives accordingly, because so much is up in the air. There's so much uncertainty. But what is a reasonable response to all of that? And typically, a reasonable response would be to not hurt other people while we are seeking our own answers. But even at that point, some people feel like, no, I have to, because that's the only way that I can get attention. That's the only way that I can make a statement. That's the only way that anyone will actually pay attention. But even when people pay attention, they seem to still not understand why any of this is happening, because it feels so senseless and it's always so sad, and you're just overtaken by grief whenever it happens every time.
Yeah, and normally we would be tasseling with bullying. There's been oftentimes in these kinds of stories where the alleged perpetrator has a history of being bullied and just made to feel lower than low. I didn't hear that in this story. I didn't hear the mother say that that's why, and this is what's going on. I heard that they kept reaching out and saying, listen, he's looking up stuff and this and that. But we got to examine all of it. I'm not even suggesting just because I pointed out the unfairness, right? Oh, now that you have white kids in the suburbs on meth, we've got to deal with this epidemic. But when it was, you pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And why are you just so immoral? Why are you just immoral? So, but listen, I don't want these mass shootings. As an American, I want whatever's paining you, whatever's hurting you so deeply that this is what you feel you need to do, and what has this mother allegedly with blinders on, that she has to aid in this. That's the allegation. I just don't know. What do you say we move away from gun violence and purported or almost mass shooting to some racism? This is America, after all. A Black alum now speaking out about racism she faced at Liberty University. One Black woman speaking out on her experience at Liberty University as a Black woman. I want you to listen to this.
I didn't sign an NDA, so I can say whatever I want to say, okay? Liberty University was a terrible place to go to for higher education. So we do our performance and then have a booth at the end of service, basically saying, hey, sign up for Liberty, come to CFAL. So very strategic. But I remember when I was in the audition process, one of my colleagues at the time was asking me like, hey, like, have you heard anything? Like, I haven't heard anything. And I was like, no, I haven't heard anything yet. And he was like, oh, well, if you get on the team, it's probably because you're Black. I said, huh? He said, oh, well, I'm a white guy and they don't need another white guy, so they'll probably just hire you because you're Black. And I literally was like, so you're saying they wouldn't hire me because of my talent? They wouldn't hire me for any other reason? It would just be because I'm Black. He's like, oh, I'm not saying you're then he tried to clean it up.
I told you how many times I heard that. Hey, look, I had a female co-anchor who would always flub her way through breaking news. I always had to pick up the slack for this one, but whatever. But I'd heard it so many times, that exact thing said to someone such as me, that when this woman finally said it to me, I didn't even bother to clock her tea, as the young people say. I wasn't gonna stay at the station anyway, okay? I just let it go. Said, oh yeah, because that was her normal and that made her feel better. And it hurts to hear this Liberty University's Black woman's story, but it's not unusual. So let's continue and let her break it down some more.
It's funny because when I got the part, when I auditioned and I got selected to be on that team, the first thing the director said to me is, I want you to know I'm not giving you this position because you're Black. I think you're talented. I think you have something special, and I love your spirit. Loved him, but also he had his own issues, because I remember there was a week where we were performing at the Baptist church that's connected to Liberty, which is Thomas Road Baptist Church. And he looked at me and he goes, hey, did you not have time to do your hair this morning? At this point, I would sometimes wear wigs, I'd sometimes wear my hair naturally. My hair's naturally curly coily. And I remember that Sunday morning, I had taken my time. It was kind of like wash and go didn't go well, but all of the curls were defined. Everything was hydrated and juicy. I had my hair up in like a pineapple, and then I had little ringlets coming down. Everything was great. It looked styled. I looked at my friend who was white, who had her hair in a low bun in the back, frizzy. She was fine. I was not.
Yeah. What did you have? 3B or C hair? And that's so it's just different texture. You just don't understand. Not just going to put some Prel in there and do it the way you want her to do it. Is that what it is? Okay. Wow. Well, you know what happens. First, somebody comes forward, and then everybody says, I got a story to tell too. And that's exactly what's happening. More other people, their experience at Liberty. Laquan McLaurin thought it would be the simplest of actions for his department at Liberty University, the Office of Equity and Inclusion, to post something on social media in response to the ongoing nationwide protest against police brutality. His boss, who is also Black, informed him that a post was unnecessary. Then the topic came up at a larger meeting, still with no action. June 1st, McLaurin finally went ahead and posted something himself to the office's account, a simple image reading, Black Lives Matter, and a caption citing 6 Bible verses backing up the slogan. It's Liberty University after all. Within an hour, McLaurin said an administrator had removed the post. Took it on down, huh? Too offensive. You recall feeling sick, sitting as a chaperone to a mostly white student group at a Blexit event that Black conservative activist Candace Owens held in Richmond, Virginia last year. Intended this rally to convince Black voters to leave the Democratic Party. Backstage after the event, watching Owens surrounded by adoring white people. Why can't they all be like you? I added that. It felt like I was in a horror movie. Cannot encourage students of color to go to that university the way that it is, McLaurin said. Our students deserve better. Our faculty deserve better. Our staff deserves better. So Slate reports McLaurin's resignation came just days after Liberty University President Jerry Falwell Jr. ignited widespread outrage by tweeting an image of a face mask decorated with the infamous racist photo from the 1984 medical school yearbook of Virginia Governor Ralph Northam. Photo shows one white student in blackface, another in a KKK robe at a costume party. The yet-to-be governor initially confessed. Well, he was governor when he confessed this or that. It was very confusing, but confessed he was one of the men in the photo and later recanted. Look, did you do it or didn't you? I don't dress up much for Halloween or in general. I think I would remember that though. I would remember this. Anyway, at least 4 Black Liberty staff members have resigned since Falwell's tweet. Several high-profile Black student athletes have announced transfer plans, and current and former students, as well as employees, have become more willing to openly criticize the university's approach to race and diversity. That shift comes as institutions across the country are grappling with the stain of racism, and as internal documents show, the university's share of on-campus Black students has fallen. Kayvon Scott, who resigned as an online admissions counselor after Falwell's tweet, said that if he's serious, he needs to make a change, not just put it on social media. Well, let's see what was put on social media by Falwell. He's going to go with social media, okay? Baby steps. Here's the apology. After listening to African-American LU leaders and alumni over the past week and hearing their concerns, I understand that by tweeting an image to remind all of the governor's racist past, Okay. Liberty University Law Review published an article too, describing what it, describes as the fallacy of systemic racism in the American criminal justice system. So I see what you did there. You started with your racism. Here's the thesis, and then you set about trying to weave and get into it. I don't even need to read that law review. Okay. Why would I even need to? This is fake news. But if that's what you want to do, I guess what strikes me with this story, Yasmin, is the seemingly, there's a measure of shock and surprise by these people of color who are now, I think, I guess bravely sharing their stories. You're going to a Blexit event and you know Candace Owens is the headliner, but you're kind of stunned at watching what you watch. Jerry Falwell tweets out, and really the apology, he's putting it on the governor. The governor, I still think, is a fool and lacks leadership because he couldn't step to the moment and say, I was extra racist back then. But okay, I just don't understand the surprise. I'm not criticizing the recounting, the retelling. I think that's powerful to talk about your experiences, but who's surprised at this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, what's surprising is with the first girl, it's amazing that people say these things out loud, let alone to her, to the people that they're talking about, which I guess is better than, talking behind their backs. But the fact that they're saying and thinking these things at all is obviously concerning. But this is one of those things where the people who want Black people in this case to stop talking about unfairness against them are the ones perpetuating the thing that Black people, that they want them to stop talking about. But they not just want them to stop talking about these things, but they want them to believe that these things aren't happening anymore. You can't be racist while telling Black people that racism is not a thing anymore. And people like Candace Owens, I don't know what these people were expecting whenever they went to an event that was, billed as a Blexit event, right? But Candace Owens, she also treats an entire group of people as if they're monolithic with her Blexit movement. She's not any better than white people who do that. The thing is, we have to understand, and I think most of us do understand this, at least here, and people watching this channel. I think what we need to understand on the greater scale is just because you are Black, just because you are whatever minority you are not obligated or you are not promised to any political party, right? You have reasons for why you would want to vote this way or that way. That's your prerogative, right? Each party can make themselves more attractive to those groups. Some parties have been historically more attractive to one group or the other, but that doesn't mean that they get to have those votes. Just because you're Black, you're supposed to vote for Democrats. You're not supposed to. There's a lot of very conservative Black people who do not feel that they are represented within the greater Democratic Party. There's a lot of Black people and other minorities too who do not feel as though they have been appreciated for their votes, for their loyalty to a certain party, and they don't feel as though they've gotten what they deserve back for that loyalty. And so they're like, you know what, maybe we'll try the other guys because you know what, I like their values better anyway. I like their stance on family. I like that they're more religious. I like that they put certain things at the forefront, things that the Democratic Party refuses to get behind. So we have to get past this. I mean, and admittedly, it's hard to because we live in a bipartisan country, right? We only have two parties. So by definition, if it's not one, then it's the other, unless you just completely opt out and you're just unaffiliated with either party. But realistically, if you want to vote in a primary, you have to affiliate yourself with one of the parties, right? You can vote without registering, but to primary, you do have to register. And so that is really how you're able to shape your party. So you do have to participate to a certain extent, and it is hard because, nobody's happy completely with either party that we have right now. But I think overall, there is a conversation that needs to be happening in this country where I don't know if we need more parties. I don't know if that's the answer. What I'll say is I don't think that's a realistic thing that we can look forward to in the next few years or even the next decade or so. Sure. Maybe sometime in the future. But for now, we really need to have conversations with various groups of people as far as, which party is actually going to benefit me And if one party isn't doing it for me, then how could they? What would I like to see from these parties? And they have to be meaningful discussions, and they can't simply be, you're Black, so you're supposed to be a Democrat, or you're Black, why don't you come over here with me to the Republican Party?
I think you're right again. And here's the thing. You have two parties. I'd say there probably have one and a third, because there's a lot of alignment there. Yeah. And within the left party, you have what could be another powerful party if it were allowed to be, the progressive wing. But what you're gonna have to do is take over, just like the Tea Party took over Republicans, and MAGA did, right? That's what you're gonna have to do. But I do think it's rich, this taking us for granted thing. I used to hate this saying, why buy the cow if you can get the milk for free? It's that antiquated, misogynistic, it's just so gross. I'm not a cow, I'm a woman, and I'll do what I want with my body. But that said, I think that that's what's going to have to happen. Instead of you getting my tuition money, my vote, my dollars, you're gonna have to prove yourself more. You don't have to like me, you don't have to love me, but you're gonna respect what I have to offer. I'm not just gonna give it away because you're not appreciating it. It's that taking me for granted thing. And talking about it, it doesn't, well, I do like to talk a lot, but I would like to see some action here. The transfers, the leaving, taking the tuition, whatever it is. I want action.
Yeah, and that's the thing with politics, right? Is we're not in any kind of romantic relationship with our party or our party leaders. They don't owe us anything. We don't owe them our loyalty just because we love them or whatever, right? This is a very transactional relationship. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is what it is by definition, right? If you want my vote, you have to give me something back in exchange for it, and vice versa. And we'll keep this relationship going as far as loyalty, if you want to call it that, but we'll keep it going for as long as it's working for both of us, right? But if it's not working, then we need to re-examine it. And you can't just punish those people for saying, I'm tired of this, because this is now feeling like an abusive relationship where I'm being taken advantage of, I'm feeling underappreciated, and I'm feeling like I have nobody in my corner. So let's have those conversations instead.
Of what you said, it sounds like you kind of plagiarized the speech I gave the banker when I dumped him finally. After all these years, I said, hey, listen.
Amazing.
Okay, but if I mess up, I will leave you. You're right. I will leave you. I believe in unconditional love, but because we've been through so much, you got to prove yourself every day.
Yeah.
I probably will leave you, I told him. Matter of fact, you're done, okay? But never mind that. What were we talking about? Oh, liberty and Jerry Falwell and his non-apology. This is indisputable. Doc has the day off. Yasmin Aliya Khan, her wisdom, her beauty, her style, her grace in unpacking these issues is much appreciated today. I'm Sharon Reed, and much more indisputable when we come right back.
I don't care if you're Christian. In fact, I will fight for you to have your religious liberty and practice your Christianity. I believe in that. I don't believe in Christianity, which means that you do not get to dictate the way I live my life based on your religion. I don't care what the Bible says. You have every right in the world. All those women who identify with your religion have every right in the world to not get an abortion, to not take birth control, but they do not have the right to dictate my life and what I decide to do with my body. I don't care about your goddamn religion. I'm so tired of having nonstop conversations about what the Bible says. You live your life in the way that you interpret the Bible. Again, I don't care, but you don't get to take the Bible and tell me, well, the Bible says this in this chapter, in this verse. I don't care. I don't care, I don't believe in it, and I have the right, based on our Constitution, to not believe in it.
Here I am, Nancy Pelosi, saying this country needs a strong Republican Party, and we do.
No one is representing what I call the silent majority, which is about 2/3 of this country, indisputably progressive.
But now we say the time has come for regime change in American television.
The Young Turks Network.
You have the Young Turks saying this is the time to fight for our values.
Young Turks is the oldest left media institution I believe that there is. Real front runner in the online media space.
You guys might know us. biggest online left of center outlet that exists.
All of you know the Young Turks?
People from this district heard about Justice Democrats by watching your show.
Thanks to the Young Turks for covering Trayvon Martin's case early on when few people were covering.
They don't stop, I won't stop. Racism won't stop, so I won't stop.
Species are at risk of going extinct. Major media outlets did not dedicate much time at all to that.
We reached a whole heap of people with our progressive message.
We're not the Young Turks, you're the Young Turks. That 300 million is a pretty good number, Well, that's the size of the US population. You know what our next target is? The size of the entire world.
We just crossed 5 billion views on YouTube.
I mean, imagine 10 years ago thinking one day we would have looked at you like, are you nuts?
Young Turks has just passed another milestone. 25 billion lifetime views.
Damn.
Too strong, way too strong. That's 25 billion times someone watched the progressive message delivered to people all over the world. You know who helped to do that? You guys did. Our members and our audience are amazing, and they helped us to reach 2 generations, both millennials and Gen Z. They're both super progressive. And I gotta tell you, we're just getting started. Thank you. All right, lots of comments. You guys are the best.
I'm gonna read a few comments from our members.
Mr. Methuselah says on YouTube, super chat, thanks for all the important work you do for TYT for the movement.
Do you know who had the first super chat when I got back from vacation? You won't be surprised to find out. Billy B. Taylor. What do you know? Billy says, rejoice, for Dragon Daddy has returned.
This question sent to us by Izzy Sanchez Jr. Is it me or is Meghan McCain talking as fast as Ben Shapiro? Is that the way the right tries to look smart and intellectual? Well, yes.
Michael Nathan writes it on Twitter. Did Anna choose Cenk's outfit today? I'm sure it wasn't Cenk himself. Man Bun Jenkins Skinny Jeans says, so now Anna has pointed out, okay, that's his handle.
T. Joyce, 1971, saying Donald Trump is good at pulling out of things, NAFTA, the Iran deal, NATO. It's just too bad Fred Trump didn't.
Welcome back to Indisputable. Dr. Richie has the day off. Yasmin Aliya Khan is with us. I'm Sharon Reed. Yas, what are you working on?
Right now, you know what's funny is when you ask me that, I know you're asking about like my work
Just
today
in general, yeah.
with Rebel HQ, but the first thing that came to my mind is I'm reorganizing some drawers in my house, and I'm waiting for like my little organizer things to get delivered, but they've been delayed, and so I'm delayed and I'm stressed about it. But also, I'm making my living room feel more springy and summery. So I changed the curtains from my like more reddish ones. But other than that, I did a video for Rebel HQ today, and we were talking about on CNN, Scott Jennings compared Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars basically to Trump and said, you know what, Palpatine wasn't so bad. So I talk a little bit about that. It's a little less political of a video for Rebel HQ, but I had fun doing it. So
yeah. This Scott Jennings, okay, and his link to Mitch McConnell, it all makes sense. This guy, and he's a paid commentator. That's wonderful. But I look forward to the video. And can I just tell you this? We're going to get to some comments, but you seem so excited when you talk about organizing, decorating. It's in your blood. It's who you are.
Yeah, well, as soon as I'm done, I was just telling you, like, I'm such a busybody that I always need to have something that I'm working on. And like sitting in front of a computer and doing this is fun, but I also need to do stuff with my hands. So I'm learning how to quilt right now. And so far, so good. I have nice corners, so I'm very happy about that.
Well, if you run out of things to do,
they'll know what I'm talking about.
Down there, you can come stay up here. You can stay with us in Atlanta for a little while. Okay?
Of course, I would, and I'll come to decorate your whole house. Yeah,
you might need a month or two. Okay, TYT members first. Kimmy Koo, Sharon and Yaz, Girl Power Thursday, and then there's these cute heels. I love it. Thank you, Kimmy Koo. About the New York official who shot the DoorDasher. Miss Cardio Queen says he has a Ring door camera. He could have spoken to him via the Ring door camera. Duh. You know what? You are so right. It's just not, again, that word, reasonable. behavior's not reasonable. B. Brown says he did all that shooting and was never threatened. Yep, but what will some lawyer that he hires tell a jury who doesn't have a similar experience? They say, well, he didn't know who it was, so he thought it could be some militia coming up to his home. Okay. Catherine Braxton says the victim should absolutely sue the hell out of Mr. Riley. Winter Scoop guaranteed that shooter was excited to finally get to use his gun on an intruder. I agree. Sir Jenks Terrified Buns of Steel says, when I DoorDashed, I used to text my delivery ETA and stop by sundown because as a young Black man, yep, I was not taking chances over a job that literally didn't even allow you to live above poverty. It's true. It's a shame, but it's true. And about the moms helping the terrorist son, sounds like the apple didn't fall far from the tree, considering that she got bail not far from the Grove. Over 9,000 enter. The Dragon says, one more, and then we'll get to some other comments a little later in the show. How about this one about Liberty University? LaTanya Hall says, Lynchburg, Virginia, location of this university says it all. You can't argue with. These are your thoughts. This is your network. Can't argue though with you guys make a lot of sense. Make it make sense. Maybe tell the unreasonable people how to behave. But you would have had to intervene on this one sooner. You're not going to stop them anyway. I'm just telling you. These people, a certain type, you know who they are. They're hell bent on doing things their way. And their way is usually minding your business and criminalizing everyday behavior, whether it's lemonade stand, okay, or selling Girl Scout cookies. They love to intervene and weaponize race. And so here we are again. Can you guess the segment? I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Who else? You're this man here. This man?
Yeah.
It's your phone, mate. You bus driver? Yeah. They've just seen it. No. Have you got a video of her breastfeeding? Yeah. No, I haven't, no. Well, everybody else seems to think you are. No, the police or are you just going to show me your phone to make sure there's no video? Chickies recycle bin. Yeah. I'm not there. Who are you? I'm the food.
You have me to eat.
Why would you do such a thing? Why is everybody else saying you did then? Mental health. What's wrong? Chicken recycle. Oh, here we go. The mental health route now.
Thank you. There you go. Thank you.
Bus driver, that's the big mental health. Not me out of the bus. I'm not. Shut up. You're the one started. Shut up. Why would you do it? Why would you do it?
Because it's a pervert.
Why?
He said because it's English, he has the right to do it.
No, don't start the English bit. Don't start the English bit. I'm English.
That's what he said. I have it on camera.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
English.
He said because it's English.
Down the side.
Why would you do it? I love an English accent. Okay? That you cannot escape them though, whether you're across the pond or South Dakota, Miami. You know, they're in Miami too. Okay, they're everywhere, these Karens. So you cannot give your baby nutrients, apparently, without a male Karen doing, well, just being gross, invasive, Karening. Male Karen confronted for recording a breastfeeding mom. Yeah. According to the poster of the clip, a man was removed from a bus in Manchester. Why would you do it? He said, the woman said, he's told her because I'm English. For filming a woman breastfeeding her baby and refused to delete the video. Okay, did he? Did he do it? He did it. Everybody on the bus saw you recording the woman breastfeeding. It's loser behavior. It's audacity. It's the fact that, listen, people are pervy. People do whatever they want to do. They forget that, oh yeah, breasts aren't there just for you to enjoy them. They're actually serving a purpose. The child's hungry, okay? But you feel privileged and entitled to this. And then you're not gonna delete it? Gross. Why do you think, why did he do it? Yes.
I like your British accent. Yeah, like why can people just not be weird about things, right?
Stop being weird. Yeah.
People make such big deals out of things that are so inconsequential. This wouldn't have been a problem unless this man made it a problem in the first place. And it actually, this might be a leap, but it reminds me of a movie. It's an Indian movie, and the colonizer, who happens to be British, that is a coincidence, was imposing an impossible tax on the Indian people. And then the Indian people said, this isn't fair. And the colonizer said, so is life. Like life isn't fair. But in this case, life was only unfair because he was making it deliberately unfair. And so like you can't blame people also for not wanting to go out in public anymore. Because not only do you have to worry about creepers leering at you, which is what they used to do, but now they're recording you. So like gross.
And I just like what you said. I think it belongs as, what was that? Nancy Reagan and her just say no, and that was everywhere. There were PSAs, it was on buses and billboards. It was, they need what you said to have the same campaign. Stop being weird. I want you to stop being weird. Let's just keep it, whatever, what we're talking about. We're talking to you, and you've got to stop being weird and abnormal in your behavior. Otherwise it becomes normalized. Then there's this, this story brings back some similarities to something that took place with me almost. I had to let him know. It's centered around Dillard's, an employee of the department store falsely accusing a Black customer of stealing. I want to show you a portion of the incident.
In your pocket. And you say you help us in this case?
Help you how?
Do you have anything in your pocket that you didn't pay for it?
Why are you asking me that question?
Well, because our camera said that you had earring in your pocket which you didn't pay for.
Your camera said that to you?
So we have put a...
Wait a minute, the camera said that to you or a person said that to you?
Our camera, but same thing.
No, a camera and a person are not the same thing.
Okay.
A camera and a person are not the same thing. Would you agree with me? How are you?
He said that she had 3 pairs of earrings in her pocket.
Who said that?
Yeah, she's not.
Who is she? The camera said it or she said it?
Just keep arguing with us.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm asking you a question. Do you hear me arguing with him, ma'am? Am I arguing with him? I asked him, did she say it or did a camera say it?
Yeah, you're not arguing. Answer the question. I don't know. Maybe Elon Musk invented something that it could be both. According to Atlanta Black Star, on May 5th, is that Cinco de Mayo? Yeah. Dr. Cheryl Jackson, the founder of Minnie's Food Pantry, which serves healthy meals to the homeless, took the day off for a shopping trip to Dillard's department store in Fairview, Texas. It's an annual tradition marking the anniversary of her mother's death by purchasing some butterfly earrings. Do you know how this is going way downhill for these people? This is a perfect victim here. She's perfect. She feeds the hungry. She's doing something that is a tradition, honoring her late mother, and something about butterflies. This is who you're approaching? Well, let's get into it. This year, however, the trip to a Dillard store didn't go according to plan. Jackson didn't find any earrings she liked. And when she started to walk toward the door, she was stopped by a police officer who told her, "Give them to me." Jackson told CBS 11 in Fort Worth. He might have got maced if that's me. What are you trying to take from me? Give them to me. I don't know what that means. Foolishness. Jackson said an officer who works for the store and a Dillard's employee asked her to hand over 3 pairs of earrings she'd been carrying before deciding against buying them. Nonprofit leader said she was shocked to find they were accusing her of attempting to steal the merchandise. Jackson said she went live on social media. Excellent. After she couldn't reach her children. Confrontation between her and the store officials lasted a little more than 13 minutes. The male Dillard's employee can be heard asking Jackson, "Do you have anything in your pocket that you didn't pay for it?" Jackson asked him why he's asking her that. "Well, because our camera said that you had earrings in your pocket, which you didn't pay for it." He responds, "Your camera said that to you?" Jackson countered. 3 pairs of earrings retailed at just under $50. They would not let me leave, she continued. Oh, that's false imprisonment. And I'm not a lawyer, but that's what I would try. Police officer said to me, either they can detain you, they can restrain you, issuing a restraining order so you could never come back on this property again. Jackson was told criminal charges could be pursued, and my heart just sank. I'm looking around and everybody looking at me, she said. And in my mind, I'm literally thinking some of these people could even be donating to my nonprofit. You're trying to ruin her reputation too. At least she feels that way. Jackson said she could hear her mother's voice as the ordeal unfolded. Cheryl, your name is all you have, and you protect that with everything within you, she said. And she said, you've got my name on the top of that food pantry. You protect my name. And I said, I will. And I fought for that. A few minutes later, a female employee of Dillard's approached Jackson. Where's the mistake? Tell me the mistake, Jackson asked her. The employee told her, we found your earrings. Oh, AKA nothing to see here. Oh, they located the merchandise that I put back there because I decided not to buy it, Jackson told her. Video audience, which reached 142,000 people. And that right there, what's in my dang pocket ain't nothing but my keys. But they appear telling me that the camera said that I'm stealing. In a statement, Dillard's told CBS 11, we've apologized to Dr. Jackson. We are looking into this matter internally and will take any appropriate action. Jackson disputed the claim, saying the apology was issued only after the store manager was told she was innocent. Jackson even returned to Dillard, seeking out the female employee who had accused her of theft. I'm an emotional wreck, she wrote on Instagram. To my friends who I love, every time I tell this story, I cry. And I become traumatized all over. I have news reporters telling me Dillard's accused them of the same thing, but they didn't do a story. Why? Because of what I'm feeling right now, shame, emotional stress, and questioning why. I admit I am still in shock, and all I want for Mother's Day is my mom to hold me, pray for me, and tell me that I'll be okay. She's gone. She's freaking gone. Jackson said she gave an employee her cell number and asked the manager to call him. She never did. At Dillard's did not issue a formal apology to me nor the attorney. They're saying the employee that looked at me like a criminal and treated me like a criminal apologized, but he only did the apology after they told him I was innocent. She went on to detail how she was struggling with what went down at Dillard's. I have admitted that I deal with anxiety, stress, and depression, especially during Mother's Day, because Mom died this weekend. And I've lost my father, my brother, and providing millions of meals is hard, but I smile and I have served. But today, I'm telling you, I am not okay, Jackson wrote. I'm crying loud. Will y'all please pray for me? I need it. I'm going to church. I need Jesus. A skeptic would say the case she set up here, anxiety, stress, trauma, fallout, it's perfect. Lawsuit. But it just so happened they picked on a perfect kind of woman. And something about Mother's Day. This is the most, well, we've covered so many. This is another example of the most ignorant behavior. I don't know if it's a lack of training. Either you saw her steal the earrings or you didn't. And you know daggone well the camera didn't tell anybody that. And the employee didn't see that. Because if they had, they probably would have just grabbed her and said, that's it. We've called the cops and they're going to sort this out, whatever. That's not what happened here, Yaz. Everyday incidents that seem ridiculous. It's not really about the money, but 3 pairs of earrings totaling $50 and all this. And yet another Black woman, a Black or brown person is under assault for just living right and trying to get, she wasn't even trying to get peace of mind. She was honoring her mother, a very stressful time. Mm-hmm. What are we going to do with this foolishness that causes great harm to people?
It does, and it's unbelievable. And what's difficult about these situations is that once anyone makes any kind of accusation, the accused automatically looks guilty, right? Just looks guilty. And the more they try to defend themselves, people already see them as the wrongdoer or criminal. So the more they get defensive, then it's like, whoa, now you're being defensive, right? The accusation is often enough to taint someone's entire image. And in many cases, it works both ways when the person's image is the reason why they were accused in the first place. And in this case, the woman was concerned about her professional reputation. She's concerned about the people who are watching the whole ordeal because she knows that most likely those people are going to assume that the woman being accused actually did something wrong. And we all like to think that we'd be more insightful or more discerning in situations like this, but we see it all the time. If you plant a seed or an image in people's minds and all of a sudden it's real to them, right? You see it all the time on social media. It doesn't matter if someone is innocent or guilty of something, but the minute that they're accused of it, people immediately will say things like, oh yeah, I can see that. Oh yeah, he reminds me of this other person I know who did this and that, right? Of course, they can see it now because someone has given them that image already. And it's very hard to undo that, right? It's very hard to unsee something that you've already seen in your mind. And it's sad that this woman had to be such a perfect victim for this story to play out the way it did, because as you said, this could have gone very, very differently if this woman wasn't as composed as she was, if she wasn't as eloquent as she was, if she wasn't, I don't know, as well dressed as she was, if she wasn't such a respectable member of her own community. Exactly. So, and we know how those things go.
Yeah, you're right. And it's sad because doing all of that, the composure, there's this thing, it's not a stereotype, it's real. Just like every Black parent has the talk with their child interacting with police. Make sure you dress. Even I go into a store even today and I make sure I'm obvious in it's automatic. Because this is what, I've had this exact scenario happen to me multiple times as an adult, as a prominent news anchor, like just stupidity. And I draw a real clear line. I don't care if what I'm paying for is under $50, $5, 50 cents. You're not gonna treat me like this without a consequence. It's either gonna be you lose my money, you lose the sale, you're put on blast, something, or sued. We'll keep following Dr. Jackson's story. We stand in solidarity. I know exactly what you went through, and so many of us do. This is Indisputable. Doc has the day off. Yasmin Aliya Khan is here. I'm Sharon Reed. Much more to come.
Indisputable is still the fastest growing news show in America compared to CNN, Fox News, and 30 other networks. We tell the truth on Indisputable because the truth is indisputable. We go places that other news media outlets refuse to go. When there were human rights abuses happening at the Victorville prison, guards and members of the community contacted us.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
It really doesn't take much to be a trusted voice. All it takes is to be fearless, report on matters, be an advocate. I called it the bullpen intentionally because it's a place of preparation. We present individuals who may have an opposing view, so we debate. Sometimes we interview individuals because their stories deserve to be heard. A survivor of significant police misconduct and his attorney. We covered this story earlier, and to remind you of the horror of one man being shot at damn near 100 times by the police. We take time on this show to showcase the temper tantrums of Karens in the wild. We do this not because we want to see people's emotional outbursts in public, but because these incidents are emblematic of a bigger societal issue taking place across the nation, and it has to be checked.
My friend, my big homie, attorney at law, Benjamin Crump.
I just want to thank you, man. Educated, articulate brothers like yourself speak truth to power. It makes a great difference in changing the landscape in America. So
listen, no matter what you do, don't allow the politics of ideology to evaporate the soul that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reformed, so I won't stop. You won't stop either.
Welcome back to Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie. Doc has a day off. Sharon Reed, Yasmin Aliya Khan are with us. And let's get to some of your comments. As promised, we love our TYT members, always showing up for us. And the best part of the show, really, again, it's the community. Over 9,000 Enter the Dragon is back, and loving Yaz. Yaz, congrats on everything, but I missed the dark room. Okay? Yeah.
That's funny.
So,
you know what? So do I. It was really cool. And who knows, like, this might not last. I will say though that this room is very, very cute outside of the frame. I know it looks very boring right here, but there's a lot going on out there. But I do have love for the dark room, and I do kind of miss it.
All right. Well, the dark room, maybe refer to some old videos. You'll see it.
Yeah, I used to have it. My office used to be black. It was completely the walls and the ceiling. It was really cool though. It was actually very cozy. So I liked it.
I like it. Most people wouldn't know how to, execute that, but you did. It looked great. About the Karen, Blacker Jack says, are British Karen spelled with a C? I don't know. It's a good question, I guess. Nightmare 316, he's mad hers are bigger than his. Okay, y'all are on one today. Tisha L. Christopher, perv, why video her feeding her child? Well, that's what they asked. Why would you do it? I love how the whole bus ganged up on this guy. He deserves the public shame. That's how it should be. Librio says, I don't even want to know what he was going to do with the video. Karens have the weirdest fetishes. Yeah, you're violating someone. I understand she's in public, but as a woman trying to feed her child, you're violating her. Dillards, B. Brown, they always pull the angry card with our Black women. Stop playing with them. You're absolutely right. She wasn't arguing. And by the way, she had a right to argue. Bobby, yes, they sell products and clothes. They're usually in malls, I think. I guess thank you for that contextual comment, Bobby. Yes, they are. And this dealer's probably gonna have to pay. All right, let's get into this next one. A Black couple, if you're fortunate enough to have property, buy property, sell it, refinance, whatever, you're gonna need an appraisal, and they're not cheap. And a Black couple, they proved that the appraiser undervalued their house by $254,000, $250,000. Couple in Oakland, Cali, has won a legal victory over an appraiser and lender who undervalued their home by $254,000 during a refinance, which the state determined was due to racial bias. Love it. Appraiser who undervalued it by that $250,000 now faces consequences. Ooh, what are they? As a result of a settlement overseen by the California Civil Rights Department, CRD, Ronald and Dominique Curtis received $75,000 from appraiser Medipur Musafer, who also agreed to pay $15,000 to the CRD and to watch Our America Lowballed, which is a documentary on the impact of appraisal discrimination on Black and Latino families produced by ABC 7 News in San Francisco. And Black Star giving us details as well. So here's what happened. The Curtises purchased a duplex in Oakland, 2019, hoping to build equity and someday leave the home to their young daughter, according to a statement by Fair Housing Advocates of Northern California, a nonprofit organization. After making significant renovations in April 2020, the home was appraised at $1.15 million. In December 2020, seeking to take advantage of historically low interest rates, they applied to Quicken Loans, now Rocket Mortgage, to refinance that home. Part of the process, Medipur Musafer, licensed real estate appraiser, inspected the house and prepared an appraisal report. So the Curtises then said they were shocked when they got a hold of this thing, shocked to receive a valuation of $900,000 from the appraiser. $254,000 lower than it had been appraised for earlier that year. This is the San Francisco, Oakland, okay? Come on now. Couple took issue with the properties used in the appraisal report as comparable homes, including several that were blighted, boarded up windows, caved in garage, and bricks sitting in the top roof shingles to hold them in place. They suspected racial bias might be at play, but Medipur Musafer refused to change the appraisal. Ultimately, the Curtises were unable to secure the refinance loan. According to their complaint, the lender only followed up to offer a second appraisal after the Curtises went public with their concerns on local TV news. Afterward, the Curtises reluctantly decided to sell their home. And preparing the home for sale, they removed all of their belongings, including family photos and other items indicating their race and ethnicity. According to FHANC, that nonprofit, and hired a real estate agency to stage their home with neutral furnishings and show it to potential buyers. October 2021, the house sold for $1.2 million, $300,000 more than Metapor Mosifer's valuation. Curtises then contacted Fair Housing Advocates of Northern California, which reviewed their case and filed a complaint on their behalf with the state civil rights department against the appraiser, the mortgage appraisal management company, Clear Capital, and the lender Quicken Loans, alleging race and national origin discrimination during the appraisal process. CRD conducted an investigation into the alleged discriminatory practices and determined there was cause to believe discrimination had occurred, including with respect to the appraisal and the denial of the loan. That, according to a CRD statement announcing the settlement in April. So after engaging in mediation, the parties reached a settlement. Besides paying $90,000 in compensation to the Curtises and CRD, Metapor Mosifer agreed to not engage in any formal or of unlawful discrimination, any form of it rather, in appraising real estate, to watch the Our America Lowball documentary, to participate in training regarding the history of segregation and real estate-related discrimination in the Bay Area provided by FHANC, and to continue to abide by the Bureau of Real Estate Appraisers' continuing education requirements, including at least 2 hours of elimination of bias training. Clear Capital agreed to continue to maintain a consumer complaint system for tracking complaints of racial or ethnic bias against itself or appraisers it contracts with, and to retrain all employees who review complaints of racial or ethnic bias. So I guess I'm thinking it's a fair resolution. However, this couple didn't win. And that documentary shows why there is still such disparity in America today and throughout parts of the world. Because all you have in a society such as ours is often land. You can't get any more of it, right? You're not going to invent more land. There's only a set amount of land here, homes. So you buy one and somebody tries to take your American dream. The only thing that bothers me, and I'm tussling with it a little bit, Yaz, is the fact that the penalty this appraiser paid, I don't know that it's great enough. I would like to see him lose that role. And if that's too harsh, at least be suspended in a significant way so that he feels even more. The money, sure, that's a lot of money to anybody, but you don't get the privilege to judge this home or others while behaving in this manner. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, his job is in a way to be judgmental, but I think he was taking it a little bit too far in that sense. That's not what we mean when we want you to judge these homes. And my goodness, like it is a significant sum of money to deny someone. And it feels like, and I'm trying not to read too much into this, but it feels like some Jim Crow era tactic, because you were specifically trying to hold them back, to prevent them from building that generational wealth that so many other people get to build and so many other people get to build lives off of. And, yeah, I don't think I'm reading too much. This is $250,000 that we're talking about. That is not a negligible amount of money. And I can't imagine that that's within the normal range of error between appraisers or appraisals. And it has to be personal against the couple, because a house can be redecorated. A house can be painted. If they didn't like how ethnic it was or whatever, you can deal with all that stuff, right? That's not anything to do with the house itself. And let me tell you, I look at houses on Zillow all day long, and some of the things you see on there look busted. Like, people don't even clean their houses sometimes before putting pictures of it on the internet trying to sell it. Like, you'll see like open drawers and clothes on the floor. It's unbelievable. I can't imagine that these people, if it was anything remotely like that, like you're trying to sell $1 million house or $1.25 million house, right?
Yeah, you're only as good as the comps,
Yeah, like it's inexcusable. Like, how can you possibly excuse that big of a discrepancy?
Yeah, it seems that the comps he chose, we don't know what's in this particular appraiser's mind, but he was adjudicated and this was the determination. I think one other thing, people often think when you hear an ethnic name like this appraiser had that, oh, come on, we're all in a sense minorities. And what I would say is, and I don't know, that oftentimes a pattern of discrimination in a society is taught and adopted by even people who are also brown. And again, I don't know. I'm just saying that is something that people often point out, like, oh, there's a black cop there too, or come on, the appraiser has a name that seems ethnic, and nah. So anyway, the Curtises got what they got, and I don't know if it's enough. And kudos. This is California. Other states need to follow. They probably wouldn't, here in Georgia, it wouldn't have worked out, okay? You gotta go with the lower valuation. Let's move on to this one, okay? HBO's The Rehearsal duped a real singer with a fake competition. How did they do that? Well, let's look at TikTok, shall we?
This singer got tricked by Nathan Fielder, and now she's roasting him in the press, claiming that his stunt cost her $10,000. HBO is currently airing season 2 of Nathan Fielder's The Rehearsal, a comedic social experiment show where Fielder runs elaborate simulations to solve problems. The new season is taking on aviation safety, and in order to improve communication between pilots, Fielder concocted a fake singing competition called Wings of Voice, and he made the pilots the judges so that they could practice giving direct and honest feedback. And in order to pull this off, he cast real singers from across the country as the contestants on the show, including Lana Love, who lives in New York and was featured on The Voice. But Love is now calling out Fielder and the show in Variety for tricking her and the other aspiring singers. She says she spent $5,500 flying back and forth to LA 3 times to tape the series, and that she also lost out on $4,000 in work as a vocal coach. Though Variety explains that she was paid $1,250 by the HBO show. Love says she broke her NDA to speak out because, quote, I signed up to be a singer, not a lab rat.
Ooh, this is an interesting one. Lana Love was among the singers who auditioned for the fictional Wings of Voice reality series on Nathan Fielder's controversial Meta HBO series. Series includes the season 2 sequence where aspiring singers would compete in front of real pilots who were serving as judges, titled Wings of Voice. The faux show within a show apparently really did do plenty of wannabe stars, including former 2022 The Voice contestant Lana Love. Love told Variety that she is tossing her non-disclosure agreement with HBO to the wind in order to voice her need for justice against Fielder and the series itself. I'm legally not allowed to have this conversation with you right now because I signed an NDA, she told the outlet, adding of the network. They don't really have grounds to stand on. A representative for HBO told IndieWire they did not have anything to add regarding Love's claims. According to Love, the Rehearsal casting director scouted former America's Got Talent would-be contestants who had previously auditioned for the ABC reality series. Those people were then targeted to audition for Wings of Voice. Reddit thread and the America's Got Talent forum seemed to confirm this. Love cited that she estimates there were more than 1,000 people auditioning for Wings of Voice, all of whom did not realize it was a faux show. Contestants were told that the winner of Wings of Voice would perform with a Grammy-winning singer. The auditions took place summer 2024. Now, Love said that the only abnormal thing is that we auditioned for an airline pilot and there were no cameras visible in the room. Love added that she would have to wait for 3 to 4 hours and only be able to sing public domain songs such as Old MacDonald Had a Farm, Yankee Doodle. She personally paid to travel from New York to LA 3 times under the guise of auditioning for the show. Love told Variety that she spent $5,500 on travel, lodging, hair, makeup across her 3 trips to LA. Lost out on her salary, taking time for work as a vocal teacher. Signed up to be a singer, not a lab rat. You heard that quote, Love said. However, she has no resentment towards series creator Fielder. Not sure if he's a psychopath. It sounds like she has resentment. A little bit, just a little bit. She's not sure if he's a psychopath or a genius. He might be showing us our flaws through him. For the 3rd taping, Love let's get to this third taping because I think you need to see it. For the third taping, Love was sent a SAG-AFTRA contract, which she refused to sign, as it stated that ownership for the songs would be retained by the show's producers as opposed to the artists. I went to the producers and said, this needs to be changed or I walk. I can't do this unless you give me an addendum, not just for me, but for every songwriter in this room, she said. And they did within the hour. She was paid $1,250 for the third taping, which allegedly included more than 10 hours of rehearsal, 1 day of filming too. Love claimed that other contestants who were fitted for costumes and stood on stage for hours lip singing were paid background actors rates of $180. Regardless, the rehearsal of it all was wasted. I think about the kids more than anything else, Love says. The 16-year-olds who flew themselves out 3 times with their families who did not have the money to do that. It does seem cruel. We've seen shows, like Punk'd and, just other things. There's this one with these 4 friends who were just ridiculous. And we laugh at them sometimes. Crank Yankers, that show was ridiculous. But that last part, that is a little cruel. Should she get damages? Should the others?
I mean, like you brought up Punk'd, and Punk'd really hasn't aged very well, right? We look back on that show and we're like, what was going on here, And I haven't watched too much of the rehearsal. I have watched some of it. I get the concept, but I did wonder about these types of shows, about the logistics of pulling them off, especially in cases when the bit depends on the people involved not entirely knowing what's going on or them being tricked or deceived in some kind of way. But I guess I'd always just assumed that the people involved would be adequately compensated for any inconvenience or expense incurred, whether before or after the fact, depending on the circumstances. But I guess we're seeing now that that isn't always the case. But good for her for speaking up and for breaking her NDA. These NDAs really have, people are getting away with all kinds of things because somebody somewhere signed an NDA and they're not allowed to bring it up. They're not allowed to say, hey, I was duped. Hey, I'm out this much money because of these people. They just have to deal with it. And usually whenever you sign an NDA, you sign it before you even know what you're agreeing to, before you even know what you're not allowed to disclose, before the thing has even happened, before you've experienced the thing. You sign the NDA saying, I'm not going to talk about this thing. And it's really unfair. And we have been seeing some pushback against NDAs in recent years. And I'm glad we're seeing that because I do think that they're very difficult to deal with. I think they impede a lot of processes. And I think that they let a lot of bad things go unaddressed.
I think you're right. I mean, they're so one-sided, right? Yes, because let's say I sign up, I think I'm signing something, a first grade teacher at a private school. It's my passion, okay? I don't think I want to watch a room full of first graders, but they're cute in the beginning as we leave them with the real teachers. And then the next thing you know, I show up for work and I'm at the circus. I don't even think animals belong in this circus and I'm shoveling waste and things. I signed an NDA on a false, this is not what I even envisioned. So it's just not fair. And I think she can make that argument. And I guess what got me was her final statement that resonated the most, because when you're trading on someone's lifelong dream, actors, singers, 1 in a million are going to make it, or maybe the odds are even greater. And they're sacrificing and doing things that they can't even afford, flying out there, missing work on a belief in yourself, and you're punking them.
Yeah,
real singers, you're punking them. These are real singers.
Yeah, it's very disrespectful, not just of their craft, but of their time, of their money. And the amount of money that she was spending flying back and forth across the country, that is not a negligible amount of money. That's a lot of money for a lot of people. And she said she also lost money because she wasn't able to work during this time. So it's sad to see such predatory behavior, especially in Hollywood, because those people are supposed to know how hard it is to make it in a place like that. Not that I expect them to be sympathetic towards the people who haven't yet made it, but at least they would be a little bit more on the inside of that. But I am happy that we're seeing predatory behaviors like making people sign NDAs and also non-compete clauses in jobs and things like that. A lot of that is starting to come undone now, or at least people are talking about the fact that they're unethical and they should not be enforced anymore, because it's exactly as you said, they seem to protect the people who are already in power and then they leave everybody else completely helpless.
Yeah, that's right. And some of the wages I question, doing the little bit of acting that I do, this industry has changed because the streaming giants, we can't sustain this, we can't afford this. And so they want to lower this and take out that and AI this and that. And that's partially what this strike was about. But you're going to give someone $1,250. It sounds like a great payday for the day. But is that the rate? Is that the rate? 10 hours sitting there doing this, all to be made fun of? Background actors, $180. I don't know. Test that.
And that's your
case, Lana
craft,
Love.
that's your dignity. That's the thing that you have given up everything else in your life to pursue. At the, I'm sure your parents aren't happy about it. Your husband's not happy about it. Whoever, it's a very stressful thing, not just for the person who's involved, but for everybody in their support system to deal with. Everybody's like, just let's get this thing going, and you're just making a mockery of it. It's very, very sad.
Making a mockery.
But I didn't know you did some acting, Sharon. That's cool.
Well, that's what it says on the screen when they put up the credits. Now, whether I just showed up, okay, I've done a few little things, but you're right. Sacrifice is everything. I remember I told my parents I want to be a newscaster, and they said, you better go work at a bank. Okay, we don't know anything about this stuff. Okay, big dreams, not going to happen, little girl. A bank is more stable. I didn't listen, which was often the case.
Look at you now, yeah.
That's right. Look at me now.
I'm the opposite. I tried to do something very stable, and I just ended up here because I wasn't made for it.
You're well-rounded. You got a lot to give, and I encourage you to go for it. This is indisputable. I love being on with you. Can't wait to see you again. And thanks, Doc, for letting us, be together and collaborate on this edition of Indisputable. Yeah, we'll see you next time.